Today, we're going to take you step by step through the creation of your own cross-platform voice app. It's going to be published on both Amazon Alexa and Actions on Google, which is for the Google Assistant. Let's get started. It's always good to start with why. So first, you'll need an understanding of what these apps are and how they work and why you would even want them for your business. Check the description below. We've got a video explaining why anybody would want to ever create a voice app in the first place, and then the different benefits that it provides to both businesses and app developers. The first step is to download a terminal console. If you don't already have one, you can download one. If you have a Mac or if you have a Linux-based device, then you already have it built in. You just need to search terminal, and you should be able to find it that way. For Windows, you can use their console emulator. I generally recommend CMDir. I prefer it as an actual console emulator for Windows that more matches what everybody else uses in Linux or Unix-based devices. So the first step is going to Jovo's website and just installing their tools. I'll have a link for their website in the description as well. The next step is actually installing the Jovo command line interface, which NPM stands for Node Package Manager, which is how we're going to actually install the Jovo command line interface. If you don't already have NPM installed, you will need to install it. Within NPM, we want to install a program, and we want to install that program globally, not just in the scope of this folder, but all the way across my machine. And what I want to install is the Jovo CLI. And I've already got that installed. To make sure you have it, you can just type Jovo-V, which checks for the version installed. The first thing we're going to do is create a new project, and I'll name it My Business. Once it sets that up, it's going to install all of the Node package module dependencies, and then we'll be able to actually go inside of that project and look at it. So we can change directory into My Business, and we can see in here that there's an app folder, an index.js file, which we're going to kind of ignore, license, models, and a few other packages as well. The next thing we want to do is tell Jovo which platforms we're going to be building for. In this case, we're going to be building an Alexa skill, and we're also going to initialize a Google action. And now that we've initialized them, we actually need to build those platforms out. Now that we built the platforms, we can run the application. And we're given a webhook URL, which we will need in a little bit. Now let's explore the code. My development environment of choice is Atom. You can find it for free just by searching Atom IDE. And now we can see the structure of the project, and where we're going to be interested in is this app.js file. We're now going to add in all of the intents, or the ways we expect our customers to interact with our app. So this requires a little bit of user experience, or UX thinking. Today we're going to have three apps. We're going to have an intent to pop up a business card, so that way customers can ask for our business card and have that sent to their phone. We're also going to get a quote. So for our business, Voice First Tech, we do a lot of work with clients. So if clients want us to build an application for them, they can get a quote directly in our app. And then the last one, learn more. Those are the three intents we're going to build. I really like the use of state management. I think it provides for much cleaner code. So for our first state, I'm going to have a welcome state. Might not be necessary in this app, but I like to just cover all of my bases. And then inside of the welcome state is just going to be our welcome intent. And instead of using the string literals, I'm going to use the speech builder that Jovo provides. This makes it much more readable, and in addition, just gives us added features that are scalable across platforms. And now we can add text, which is pretty easy. We'll welcome customers to Voice First Tech, or whatever the name of your business is. After we add that text, I want it to take a little break. And then I'll guide the customer into a couple of interactions. So I'll add some more text. So I'm guiding the customers or the users, do you want to see our business card, get an estimate for your voice app, or learn more? And I'm going to ask this down here. We're just going to ask that. And from here, I want to create a new state. And this state is going to be the routing state. The main purpose of our routing state is going to be to provide the users with a clean interaction, a clean journey from the welcome to whatever these different intents are going to expand to. This is forward thinking because a lot of times we won't want to implement states just for time, but to add these states are going to help us in the future if we want to expand business card for more features like calling if Google and Alexa release calling features, or the ability to directly link the business card in other ways. We could extend the intents more if we include states, which is why we're including it. We don't really need these anymore, so I'm going to get rid of those. Now we can do another intent inside of our routing state. And for this, we're going to have one for each of our intents that we just built. And we'll want to make sure that however the user responds, the app knows that our follow-up state is routing state. Now inside of our routing state, we're going to want a business card intent, a quote intent, and a learn more intent. Business card intent, quote intent, and learn more intent. To take things slowly and to make sure that we're building it right, I'm going to switch up the text to just say welcome to business card, welcome to quote, and welcome to learn more, so that I can test to make sure that everything works here. So now that we have all of this labeled, let's create the front end skill and Google action. And now I will create a new agent in Dialogflow called My Business. You can name this whatever you'd like, up to you. Once you name it, click the save button and it'll start working. Now you can see for Dialogflow we already have a default welcome intent and a default fallback intent. Right inside of Jovo, the default welcome intent will automatically map to launch. And we can see that inside of launch, all that we're doing is we're sending people to hello world, which I've deleted, so we can't do that. We need to change where we route them to welcome intent. This is invoked anytime a user just naturally launches an app. If they say, hey Google, okay Google, open my app, My Business, and then it will automatically open up this launch command which will send them to welcome intent. Next we need to add in these three intents. So we're just going to want to copy the names exactly and then create those intents. Click the plus button by your intents, and then you name it. You can go ahead and save it. And now you'll think about what people would want to say to invoke this. For me, they'll probably want to say business card. Give me a business card, contact number, or email, or any other information you might have on their website would all be on your business card. And then what we can do, well, what we have to do is we have to say fulfillment. What this says is anytime we talk to it, rather than using these canned responses that we can do, hey, we can just actually physically tell Google how to respond. We don't want that. We want to have it get fulfilled by our Jovo functions. Once we've done that, we will save, and we'll do the same thing for our other intents. Make sure you name these intents exactly as they're named in your backend code. So then I'll create the quote intent. And again, we'll want to enable a webhook call. For our last intent, and enable fulfillment and save. That'll kick off a build. Now that we've done that, the only other thing that we need is our fulfillment. And for now, we're going to be testing locally. And what that means is we take this, copy it, and if we scroll down or up, we want a webhook, paste in the URL there, and save it. Once we've done that, we can actually see how it works in the Google Assistant. As long as it's running back here. If you're not running, if you stopped it, all that you have to do is Jovo run, and then it'll run that again. And as long as you're signed into the correct account, you'll go here. You can just click the button to talk to the test app. and we can see that it responds with hi. Well, why would it respond with hi? That's not what we want. That was my error. Well, if we go back into intents, we go to the welcome intent. This default intent currently has a bunch of these canned responses, so we can delete those. And then we do also need to enable webhook fulfillment. We'll kick off another build, and once that agent is done being trained, we can get started again. Now that our agent training is completed, we can go back into the Actions console, cancel out of that, and start again. Once we talk to the test app, we see that we get the response that it's not responding. And the reason for that is final response must be set. This happens to me a lot in Jovo development. So this has something to do with our response in that it's not being triggered correctly. The first place to go is the terminal when you're debugging, and you can see that we have an invalid JSON response. The reason for the error is it can't find the welcome intent, and that is a problem. The reason it's a problem is because I am only calling, when we go to launch, it says go to intent, welcome intent. So it's just looking for that intent. We need to directly manage the state. This is one of the benefits, so this is my error in just forgetting. Instead of to intent, we want to state intent. The first thing we put in is the state, and then the second argument we put in is the intent. And any additional arguments after this are going to be fed into this function. So now that we've done that, I generally like to restart the server and try it again. When we go back in, we'll talk to the test app again. And this time it works. We get a response. And let's just see if the business card works. And great. So now I can see that we're actually getting those responses. Now let's see what happens when we type in any of the other things from here. We can see that it directly navigated us back into the same state. Because we didn't move it out of the state, it's able to check in the same state for learn more. The only other endpoint we need to check is the estimate. And we can see that all three of our intents work. Now let's head over to Amazon Alexa. And now we'll create that My Business app. It's going to be a custom intent, and or a custom skill, and then we'll create that. Over here, first thing we'll do is we'll go to the invocation, and we'll call it My Business. Business. Hope I spelled that right. And when we try to build, it's going to say failed because we need sample utterances. Now let's go into our intents and see what we have here. We have a stop intent, a help intent, a cancel intent, and a fallback intent. So what we don't have is a welcome intent in here, but Alexa will should automatically map us to the launch when we do it. So we'll get started with the welcome intent. Not the welcome intent, the business card intent. We'll create that business card, same deal. And unlike Google, we don't need to select fulfillment. It'll automatically do that for us. So then we can save and build. And this time we didn't get that error. So we kicked off a build. While it's building, we can continue to add in these additional intents. So now we got quote intent. Once we create all of our sample utterances, we can go ahead and build again and move on to our last intent. Once we add all those, we'll save and build one more time. Then we'll go down to endpoint. And in here, we're going to run again and get that webhook URL, and we'll paste this in the same place. We're going to be using an HTTPS server for now, but if you host on AWS Lambda, you can also post that, which is what we'll end up doing when we publish. You'll select my development endpoint has a certificate from a trusted authority, aka your computer, and we'll put that in there, and we should be good to click save, but it's not letting us. And once the build is successful, we'll be able to save those endpoints. Now that the endpoints are saved, let's get it tested. Now let's just open my business. And we got it right away, which is awesome. And let's try business card, and then we'll try estimate, and then we'll try learn more. Great. and then we'll say stop. And stop is not mapped to anything, so it will probably time out our skill right now. No, I guess stop just immediately. And then we'll go ahead and add on the actual showing of the basic card, and we'll see if it works. One thing we need to be sure of is now that we have defined a Google action, we actually just use that to require the Jova framework. And we're going to do the same thing with Alexa skill. So having everything in, we create a new Google Action basic card. We've defined Google Action up top. We set the title as the name of our business or whatever you'd like it to be, and then we can add in some text. From there we can add in an image. This is an image of my logo for my company, and then we need to be sure that the next argument is the name. It's going to be the title at the top, and then the size that you want that image to be. So you could physically upload an image of your business card if you'd like. On top of this, we can link in a button to which I'm going to do. And so I'm going to add in a button, and I'll label it Voice First Tech Website. And let's see if that works. And as you can see, we get the full business card up here. Now we didn't get the button, so that's curious. I'm wondering if I just need to restart the server. So after restarting the server and going into the browser, and then going back into the browser, we can talk to the test app and then ask for our business card and actually see it appear. So we'll see all of the information right on there, and when we click the website button, it'll actually take us to that location. So then we can actually engage our customers outside of Google, or now that we've got this built with Google, let's move to Alexa. So for Alexa, we will do a similar process. So now we can kind of copy over the same information. I can make the title Voice First Tech. Can make the text our office phone number. Can make the small URL this long URL. Let's see if I can do it for both. I'll give that a try. And when we restart the server, we'll go into Alexa this time. The same card structure is followed for Alexa. So now what we can do is replace some of this interaction with something that makes a little bit more sense. Another thing in the Alexa console we need to do is go to the Build tab and then the Interfaces tab. So that way we can actually add in displays as an available interface on our devices. One thing I forgot to check for is the platform. We cannot send two responses to Alexa or Google because it won't know which one to take. So what we need is an if statement that checks for the platform and then directs the response accordingly. So we'll do that by saying if the type equals Alexa skill, I believe. If it's equal to Alexa skill, then we want to do this Alexa response. Well, we've got 2 cards. We don't want 2 cards. 1 card. And we do want to do all of that though. So now we've got it so that if it's an Alexa skill, we're going to open up a standard card for Alexa, and if it's a Google action, then we're going to open up that. So let's see if that Alexa skill works now. Restart the server. Back in the web browser, we'll open up My Business. And then we'll ask for a business card to see that we got to the intent, and on top of that, we can see what it looks like on the Echo Show and on the Echo Spot. Last thing is for me to go in here and just clean up the responses real quick. In reality, once I'm done with this, I'm going to create more mappings for the quote intent. The quote intent is probably going to just have a route that says to route. You know what? I'll go ahead and do it. This dot to state intent, and we're going to go to quote state. I'm going to make that, and then the intent is going to be start quote intent. Then I can, outside of the routing state, I can create a quote state. And inside of quote state, I can make that intent. And now this will mean that I'll have to go back into Dialogflow and into Alexa and add this start quote intent into there. Because actually I won't need to, because this will redirect it straight there. But as I develop more intents, I will need to actually create those in the consoles. And the only thing I'm going to have inside of start quote intent is welcome to quote intent. I'm pretty happy with how my app looks now. I've gone through and I've modified the responses to match what I expect for my business. And I've tried it all in both Actions and the Alexa console. So now what I need to do is upload and host my skills so that it's not here on my local computer. To do that, we're going to go to AWS Lambda, and we're going to both leverage AWS Lambda and AWS API Gateway. On AWS's website, you're going to go to Lambda, and then you're going to select Create New Function. You're going to author from scratch, and then you're going to name it whatever you'd like. If you don't already have the existing role down here, you're just going to select Choose New Role from Templates, I believe. Just look up Lambda Execution Role in Google, and you should be able to find it. For me, I do already have the Lambda Basic Execution Role, so I can create the function. Next step is to add our Alexa skills configuration in. What we need to do for that is actually go to our Alexa skill. We'll go back to the Build tab, and down in our interfaces, or our endpoint, we should have the skill ID. Once we toggle it back to ARN, we can copy this, go back over here, paste it, add, and then we can save. Now we'll see that there's also an ARN number up here, which we can copy and put in here. That way, they both will communicate with each other. So now, rather than reaching here locally, Alexa will actually go to this function to try to get all of our intents fulfilled. But as you'll notice, we don't have anything stored in here yet. So the next step is to get our Jovo app. You'll go into the My App Business folder, you'll select everything and right-click on it, and you'll compress it. Whatever the name is, not too important. And once that's done, we can go over here and select Upload and actually upload that. So we'll upload that zip file, and then we'll click Save. Now that it's done uploading, we do want to run a test. So we'll configure our first test event. We'll search Alexa, and we'll see that there's actually a start session intent already. And I'll name this start event. This will test what a user sees when they automatically just invoke our app through the invocation name. We can then test it and see a log right here, and we can see that it succeeded. And we can see that it's returned with welcome to Voice First Tech and our welcome message. Now that that's working, let's go to the API Gateway. We'll get started, and we'll create a new API. The name doesn't really matter, I'll make it My Business. And then we'll create that API. Once the API has been created, we need to create a method that posts. And what this is going to do is whenever our endpoint is hit, whenever this API is called, we're going to wait for post requests from Alexa and from Google Assistant, but mostly from Google Assistant. And we'll need the name of our Lambda function. Once you have the name of your function, you can go ahead and save it. And that's what we want, so we'll click OK. And once that's done, we need to just deploy the API. And I'm going to deploy this one to a new stage, which we will call testing. So if you have a full-out pipeline that you want to integrate with your business, you can start right here with your deployment of your APIs. And now we have our invocation URL. I'll take this and I'll put this in our actions on Google Console, or our dialog flow. We'll go into the fulfillment tab, and then we'll replace this URL with the one that we just got from AWS API Gateway. We'll save this, and then we'll go back into the Google Assistant and Alexa Skill Kit to try again. We'll now test to make sure that everything's stored up in the API Gateway rather than here locally. And to prove that, I'll shut off my server. Let's start with Alexa.
Welcome to Voice First Tech. Do you want to check your device for our business card? Do you want to get an estimate for your voice app or learn? We see you'd like to build a voice app. We've got just the team to bring your idea to life. This feature will be completed. There was a problem with the requested skills
Alright,
response.
so I see that Learn More does have an error, so I'll try to debug that.
For our business card,
And now I've updated it.
do you
We
want
can
to get an
see
estimate for your voice app or learn more?
we can see that Learn More now
All
works.
profits from Voice First Tech's agency go to
So everything works. So now what we want to do is actually submit. We'll go into the distribution tab to get started with Alexa. Oh yeah, before we do that, let's finish testing on our app. We'll go to the simulator and we'll talk to test app.
Sure, here's the test version of my test app. Welcome to Voice First.
We'll see we get a business card.
Check your device for our business card. Do you want to get an estimate for your voice app or learn more?
And then we'll say estimate, and then we'll try Learn More.
We see you'd like to build a voice app. We've got just the team to bring your idea to life. This feature will be completed soon. My test app isn't responding right now. Try again soon. Go directly towards educating high school and college.
Alright, it looks like everything's working now. So we can now submit both of our applications. First, we'll submit Alexa. From there, we will submit all that info, and we'll click Next to go on to the next page, and we'll save and continue. So we've got all of this information currently filled. We've got our opening intents. We've got our small and large icon, 108 by 108 and 512 by 512. I've identified the rest of our resources, so we'll go on to the next page. No, we don't. And the only note I'll include is the Jovo framework was used. I'm going to make it public, and we'll keep going. And there were no errors found, so let's run some validation. Next is the functional test. And with 0 errors found, we'll go to submission. I'm ready to submit, so we'll submit it to Amazon certification. Great, we are all done. So now it's in review. We can move on to submitting the action on Google. First thing we're going to do is go to the overview tab, and we'll just go to the quick setup. They have a lot of great walkthroughs on this. I typically like to have the language setting just get matched by the user. That way whatever preferences they have for their general assistant are just going to carry over. We'll save, and then we'll move on. Looks like I can't have the difference between Voice First Tech and Voice First Tech Business, so I'll make them the same. Okay, Voice First Tech was already taken. So unfortunately, I'm going to be here with Voice First Tech Business. We'll go into actions, and let's add in whatever actions we would like from our custom intents. I would like users to be able to access some of these intents from outside of the app. When we go to the integrations tab, we can see Google Assistant, and then we can actually select additional intents to add. I would like users to be able to get to my business card intent, my quote intent, and even my Learn More intent from any screen without sign-in being required. And we will automatically propagate changes. And that's it. So we refresh the page to see that now actions can actually be tested from any of them. We have all of them listed. Let's go to customization of our theme. All right. Saved all my theme customizations. Let's go down to deployment. I'm going to try to copy a lot of this information from the Alexa skill. Again, after I fill out all the info, I'm going to make sure that I specify built with the Jovo framework. Just to summarize everything I've gone through, and I've added in invocation phrases, some images, I've added in my privacy policy, and all the other business details. And I don't perform transactions right now, but I could if I wanted to. Next, we'll save and move on. Looking at our location targeting, we don't really care. It can target everywhere, so that's fine. Surface capabilities. We don't do audio, but we do use screen output. Although we use screen output, it doesn't require it, so we can say no. And it also doesn't require any. It doesn't require any of these. Although it utilizes some of them, it does not require it. And so we'll be able to trigger this on both phones and speakers. We'll save these changes and move on to release. Let's submit it for production. I've already tested it, and I went through the launch checklist, so I can submit it. And now we can see that our version 1 is under review. And that is our entire end-to-end production. We've submitted everything for certification. We built a couple apps, both Alexa Skill and Google Action, from one single code base. In the future, when we want to update this, we can add in more functions and features. Go back over here and zip up a new file, and then we just submit it to our Lambda function. So we'd go back in here, we would change it to zip, and then we just upload a new version. And then automatically, both the backends are updated. If we do add in new intents, need to make sure that you go into Dialogflow, into the intents, and add them there. And the same intents need to be added over on our Alexa Skill Kit side. If you need any more info, we've got more videos down in the description to show you how to learn more about building with voice apps and bringing voice apps to your business, as well as the many business opportunities that exist. Voice First Tech also offers a service to build your voice apps for you. If you would like that, check out our email in the description or check out our website where you can get quotes and we can start getting connected to really collaborate. At Voice First Tech, we are very passionate about education and also about voice apps. We think that this new time is a real interesting period of IoT, of voice services, and really the voice augmented reality space. And one part of that is voice augmentation for your business or for your app or for your service. To be able to bring voice in is a new interaction, a new way of creating experiences for users. We're here to help you out. If you've got any further questions, check us in the comments or on our website. And lastly, keep on building. Never stop learning, never stop asking questions. Stay curious, young ones.